So in retail marketing, we talk a lot about the 4 Ps, right? Product, placement, promotion, and price. In business to business, we talk that people buy from people, not businesses, right? It's that personal relationship that establishes that connection. And I see a lot of that thread in what Raja was talking about, right? Storytelling, establishing a connection, making it not just about the features, but making it about a connection with the artisan. And I think, again, we're seeing these blends of all these different disciplines come together to really mold where the retail industry is going. So next I want to talk again a little bit about how those two things are coming together. I want to talk about Jonathan Jenkins, who's with founder and CEO of ShopWithMe, but I probably won't do his introduction very much justice, so we're going to roll a video and you'll learn all about what he and his company do.
So we got a construction zone, so watch while you step. We're doing a project with Zappos for their first of the kind pop-up shop here. So we thought it'd be kind of cool for you guys to come in and see it. It's just a complete experience. It's a 20,000 square foot store. And keep in mind, we got to have our first kind of opening tomorrow night. And so all the rest of this has to be done in 24 hours.
This is not your typical retail shop. This is the Zappos pop-up shop, and it's a combination between virtual and reality. Now what I mean by that is that instead of having this physical shopping cart that you're gonna push through the store, you're gonna have your virtual shopping cart, which you can download using the ShopWithMe app, or you can use one of our ShopWithMe cards right here.
So the outside is the giving charity component of what we're doing. So it's called Give With Me. And so the idea is to bring a holiday experience for the families and communities here in Las Vegas. We also have a 14-foot tall snow hill that you can slide down, ice skating ring.
I love skating.
And most of all, Jake's so excited because we have Santa Claus out there. Every time I watch that video, I get a little tired. The time that Zappos told us they wanted to open a store and the time that we opened it was only about 6 weeks. And we took this old motel in downtown Vegas, it used to be a casino, and we took it on November 1st and opened the store on November 17th. So we had about 16 days to go and build the fixtures, the walls, the floors, the lighting, the merchandising. And so it was quite an adventure, and that's what I kind of want to talk to you about today is what we learned through that experience. Before I go in and tell you the journey that we had with Zappos building their first of the kind physical store, I want to tell you a little bit about why we do what we do and my background. You know, I grew up as this little boy in Texas, always wanted to be a cowboy, looking for adventure in the Wild West. But I realized I couldn't ride my horse to school anymore and kind of made me a little sad. But when I was about 12 years old, I was really sick and in the hospital. And my grandfather bought me a lot of books. And one of those books just happened to be about China. And to me, China seemed like that new Wild West. And so I remember telling my family, I want to go to China, I want to go to China. Now they thought I was crazy, we didn't travel much, and I remember my grandfather one Sunday, after church, took me to Chinese buffet. And he says, do you like the food? I said, no, I hate it. And he goes, why do you want to go to China? I said, Papa, I don't know, but I really want to go. And my family was all entrepreneurs and small business owners, and I remember when I was about 18, they set me down and said, Jonathan, it's time to go make something of yourself. What do you want to go and do? And I said, Mom, I want to go to China. And so they bought me a plane ticket and shipped me over there. And so my background was studying Mandarin and political science, and I headed to do government work, but realized the government wasn't a very entrepreneurial place to be. And so I sold everything I had and took back off to China looking for opportunities and adventure. And I was looking for the first business to start, and I remember during October holiday going and looking at some factories and finding a factory that sold handbags. And I sent an email to my mom and said, I know exactly the kind of business I want to start. I want to sell women's handbags. And her email was like, no girl's going to buy handbags from you. You're wearing a camouflage jacket, a Longhorns hat. You have no idea what fashion is about. And I said, but Mom, this is perfect. I'm 23. I'm single. You got it right. All my customers will be girls, so maybe I can actually meet a girlfriend. And so I started that business, and I really started with the retail side, not doing wholesale, because I was really obsessed about the customer experience in brick and mortar stores. And the business was successful on two fronts, one from a financial standpoint, and secondly, because I actually did meet my wife, Danielle, there. And when Danielle and I got married, we really started following our second passion, which was technology. And so we started a tech company that really helped independent business owners in their retail stores. And so our journey has been living our lives in two separate areas, one of brick and mortar and the second of code. And I think that's a really interesting thing because right now in the retail industry, you have these two big players that are heading toward each other. You have the traditional brick and mortar big box retailers that are starting to play with code and figuring out how to bring technology into their stores. And then you have the large e-commerce, online pure plays that realize they need a physical strategy and are starting to play with bricks. And neither one of these guys are playing in their core competency, but they know the future of retail is a combination of both. And I think that that's something that we all know we haven't quite got right yet. And from a customer experience, when you're shopping in a retail store, it just doesn't feel right. You have this 21st century technology and apps that are merging with 20th century hardware and experience. And we know it's not quite right yet, but that's the direction that retail's headed. And that was what was great about working with Zappos on this first pop-up shop, because we had the opportunity to start from the ground up and reimagine what these stores would be like of the future. And so when we set out to do Zappos pop-up shop, what happened was Tony Shea came into our office, and we're located in downtown Vegas, and he saw the new product we were working on, Shop With Me. And we were trying to solve one key problem. It's not about what wallet you use when you go into a store and pay. It was about how many times you go in a store disappointed because you find something you like, but they just don't have the size and color you need. And it's a pain point that every consumer has experienced. And so the Zappos store was a 20,000 square foot store with lots of categories of product, from footwear to apparel. And all around the store, we had these Shop With Me terminals, these kiosks around that consumers could grab and discover a product and scan it. And when they scanned it, they could touch screen and figure out all the other colors and sizes that are available. Pick the one that was exactly perfect for them, add it to their virtual cart, which was either a rewards card or a mobile app, and keep shopping around the store. They could actually pick up product and buy physical product there as well, so they would make one transaction, both for their physical items and their virtual items. They would take some with them and the rest would be delivered, free next day shipping. And so this experience really helped us to figure out and learn what we thought the future of retail looked like when these two worlds are colliding. And so some of the things we learned, and number one, was about really creating small and flexible footprints for retail. Now that might seem a little weird when I say that we opened up a 20,000 square foot store. You know, you wouldn't think of Zappos opening a department store. But really what we were testing wasn't a department store, but were departments as stores. So there were different categories that you could wander through and see. It was kind of that IKEA experience. You were getting lost, but discovering new things that Zappos was carrying. We put the footwear in the very back of the store because that's what Zappos is known for, and so it's kind of like the milk at the grocery store. You had to wander through all the other apparel and categories until you got to the meat of what you knew Zappos was about. And the footwear was only about 15% of the store. But the reason we did such a large location was really to test out which of these departments could work as physical, small, and flexible footprint locations. And so we were able to marry demographic data that we were capturing to user experience and to which products were the most popular and which genres really had the best experience of blending this physical and virtual together. And so one thing that we were looking at is, could you open these small stores and rotate them out really quickly, or open a couture store in Dallas, or the ride shop store in Santa Monica? And so really thinking of stores as departments. The second thing we thought about was multi-purpose locations, and this is a big one. Using those small and flexible footprints to do more than just sell. And so Zappos has a great shipping policy, and the VIP customer gets free next day shipping, but using these small micro locations to be able to deliver a same-day product or 1-hour deliveries. Zappos actually has a great return policy, 365 days, but you still have to box it up and ship it back. So could these small and flexible footprint stores be return locations? But I think the biggest thing we hit on was really that brand experience and that connection you had to the customer in the physical world that you just can't have online. And so those were some of the things that we played with and experimented with. One of them was a room that Tony called the shoe matrix. And the idea was if you were going to take people into a new shopping experience, you really wanted to help them understand what it was all about. And so this room was a mapping room, and as you walked into the room, you would see these 4 walls around you, and traditionally you can only buy what you see in these 4 walls. But as soon as you picked up a product and you scanned it to the ShopWithMe system, we would take you into that matrix to go discover and find a complete immersive experience to help you find those kind of shoes and those products that were just for you. And when you ended up in the shoe matrix, you were actually presented with all these kind of products and styles, and it was very interactive. You actually could swipe your arm from right to left to go through and find the kind of shoes that you wanted. And so as a way to kind of explain to customers that the 4 walls don't matter, that as soon as you interact, you can actually go in to find exactly what you want. You would reach out and touch the product to choose that item, and it would transport you back to the physical store that you were in. And so when customers would go through this experience, they would leave this little room knowing that when they interacted with ShopWithMe throughout the store, that they weren't confined by just what they saw in those 4 walls around them. The second thing, besides bringing new technology and experience inside the store, it was a great chance to interact with the community. And Zappos is great in the Las Vegas community, and so we wanted to build something downtown that Vegas was missing. And so we built a holiday winter wonderland experience. We had a 20,000 square foot casino, and so we took the parking lot and turned it into a winter wonderland. We had a 50-foot Christmas tree, ice skating rink. It was free to get in. Santa Claus came every night. The Grinch came on Sunday mornings. And on the Winter Wonderland, one of the things that you could do is actually go down a 14-foot tall snow hill, 14, 15 feet tall. And so it was pretty cool because we actually made it snow in Las Vegas, and it got a huge amount of publicity and traction. We had to use 600 tons of ice to crush up the ice into powder during the Winter Wonderland experience. But it was a great way for Zappos to take their brand into the physical world and really connect with their customers on that personal level to build not just a shopping experience, but memories. The other thing we thought about was really reimagining staffing and what it meant to be a store associate. Zappos is great and known for their customer service and their people and their culture. And so it was a great experiment to take that out of the phone centers into the physical stores. And we really started thinking about what it meant to reimagining staffing and what we wanted our staff to do and what we didn't want them to do. And one of the key things was about being product experts. If you're going to have a showroom where you don't carry everything, you really want the product experts in there to tell you what sizes are for you and what brands you would like. The other thing was really knowing that people wanted help, but they didn't necessarily want to be overwhelmed with associates all around. And so we created a help-on-demand experience, which means that any of the kiosks you went up to as a customer, you would just tap help. And it would send a signal to the tablets the associates were carrying. And the kiosk would actually take a picture of the person's face and send it to the associate. So they said, in the jeans section, this person needs help. And on the kiosk, when a help was responded to, it could show a picture of who is coming to help you. So I know who I'm coming to help, and they know who I am to look for. And so it was one of those things that we called help on demand. And we, at a 20,000 square foot store, we had 5 to 7 people on average working, and we would answer help requests in less than 1 minute. So it was really there when our customers needed us. The second thing was really thinking about cash handling. No one has ever paid for Zappos.com using cash, but cash is still a big part of retail in the US. And so what we did was we develop a system where we could do automatic cash recycling, but not in this big kind of machine that's impersonal as a self-checkout, but really where you still could be with an associate and interacting, but insert your cash, drop your coins, take your money. And so what it did was keep the cash in a secure location where our employees didn't have to manage it, but allowed us to create an experience that was much more about the customer. And it wasn't so much about having the $20 disappear here or there, but really what retailers have to deal with is who's taking the money. And so we wanted to eliminate that from the equation. And so besides that experience of what our associates should do, we also thought a lot about what the consumer experience would be. and how to create a cohesive retail experience. Right now in retail, it's a consistent shopping experience when I go to the mall. I'm buying products and putting in my bag, taking them home. But there's an app for every single store I go to. And when smartphones first came out, everyone wanted to have every single app. But now as a shopper, I don't want to have 30 apps for every retailer I'm walking in the store for. I don't want a different experience with different UI and different features. Now from a brand perspective, it makes sense. Everybody wants everyone to have their app. But from a cohesive consumer experience, it's not the best shopping experience. And so one thing we started thinking about was, what does the future of retail look like as a unified consumer experience? And so I give credit to Zappos because the interaction in the store wasn't using the Zappos app. It was actually using the generic Shop With Me application. And the idea was that consumers could use Shop With Me just not for their Zappos shopping, but for other retail as well. And what happened was we had a good conversion rate on the first-time shoppers that came in the store to our mobile app. 40% of the consumers within walking in the store would download the app to use it to augment to their shopping. 60% would take a rewards card, because when you would save an item from the kiosk, you would have to scan either your app or your rewards card to save it to your virtual cart. But the cool thing about that was that 100% of the shoppers that came in and bought a product used either the rewards card or the app, one or the other. And so it created a cohesive experience for the consumers. And the app really helped augment, and it was a necessity in shopping in the store. And they were okay downloading it because they wanted their exact size and color. It just wasn't there. The fifth thing we really thought about was inventory as a service, I call it. Which means we hear a lot about technology companies that are software as a service, but inventory is still one of the biggest risks and costs that retailers have. And so as you're shopping through the store, you could actually buy physical products and take it with you. But at the same time, you could search the kiosks to find the colors and sizes and do your virtual transaction. Now those don't just have to be delivered from a distribution center. Really what we set up was a tiered model where the first thing when a consumer looked for a size or color, we would check that current location they were in to see if it was there. And if so, they could locate it and have an associate help them find it. And then if Zappos grows some more stores, you could actually check other locations nearby to see if it's in the vicinity where it can be picked up or delivered the same day. And then the next ring is checking the distribution center and the e-commerce operations to see if that inventory lives there that can be fulfilled. And now we're having interesting talks with brands and partners and third-party fulfillers that are checking their system to actually make those strategic distribution partners. And so for the consumer, it's a concise experience where they get what they want when they want, but the inventory as a service is checking where it is so that we can get the product to the consumer fast and easy and simple. And what it does for the brick and mortar is it turns showrooming into an advantage. You can lower your cost of inventory. You can really be able to expand your selections but not have to carry every attribute that might not sell. And for the consumer, it allows them to really experience a more immersive product selection. So there were 2,700 products at the Zappos store that were in stock of SKUs. Well, we connected to over 100,000 SKUs in the Zappos network, and 95% of the purchases were made for delivery. And delivery was easy because it was free next day shipping. And so we had people coming for conferences that forgot their running shoes and bought in the store to have it delivered for the next day. The great thing about Vegas, everybody traveling in and out would make purchases, and then the product would actually beat them home so they didn't have to lug it home through the airport in their bag. And so really thinking about what that inventory as a service would mean. The last thing was thinking about intelligent forecasting and new types of data we could capture in a physical experience. And so traditionally, you're only knowing what was sold in the store. But because people were touching other sizes and colors, we could capture what you would call page views or abandoned carts. We're able to tell Zappos not just what was sold in the store, but could have been sold in the store if you would have had those products there. And we were marrying that with demographic data so we could better help to choose and cycle forecasting and inventory ordering and give that data to the buyers. And what it meant was that new data entered better forecasting. And so it was a great experience working with Zappos, really thinking of what the future of retail is from the ground up. And I think that one of the things is we're all going out there to shape the new future of retail. And what does that shape of retail look like now in the 21st century? And as we're looking at all the online players thinking about going brick and mortar, and we're looking at all the brick and mortar bringing technology, it begs the question of who's in the lead. And I think it's a close race. You see this race going really closely where the online guys are building bricks and the bricks are building code. But I think the leader is, and I think the future of retail is someone that you wouldn't expect. I actually think who it is are independent retailers. And more retailers will look like the independent guys because they already have small and flexible footprints. They're not in these huge stores with big leases. They can be flexible with their spaces and be in prime locations. Their locations have to be multi-purpose. They use them for fulfillment of online deliveries in their e-commerce stores. And so they have to use these stores as multi-purpose. That their new staffing rules, they're already passion businesses. They love the product and they hire people who are also product experts. So they provide great customer service. And they're much more inclined to provide consumers a cohesive retail experience because they can't build their own apps, their own hardware. And so they're much more used to having an app that can be used in the bike store, the children's store, the bakery. And as far as inventory as a service, we're seeing a resurgence of buying groups and cooperatives and sharing inventory not just among retailers, but among brands that are really working as drop shippers. The one thing they're lacking is really intelligent ordering. But those are things that our company at OrderWithMe and then also other technology companies are really trying to help them with, their forecasting and their ordering. So I think the future of retail looks a lot more like independent retailers than you would think. And so what is the future? I think it's a place that we're all heading toward, no matter what direction we're coming from. And I really do believe that traditional brick and mortar is going away. Now that doesn't mean that you're not going to have physical locations. Obviously you are, because all the online guys are trying to build physical locations. But what it means is the stores of the future are never going to be brick and mortar stores. They're all going to be stores that are built using brick and code. And brick and code really is that future of retail that provides the best experience for the consumer and provides them what they need. And so for all of us as an industry, as retailers, I think the key thing to think about is that we're not in this just to change a retailer. Our focus should be really changing all of retail. Thank you.
Excellent job.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got about 15 minutes to do some Q&A. There is the Twitter hashtag that you guys can tweet questions to. I've got a couple starter questions we're going to do. But just before we get into the QA, I'd ask, can we please give a big round of applause to the people that presented today? What great content. All right, guys, so great stuff, right? Very disruptive, very innovative. But I can't imagine it was all gumdrops and rabbits along the way. Talk to me a little bit about the challenges from when you came up with your concept or your strategy, from then till today. What was the biggest hurdle that you guys found? And anybody can jump right in.
I'll go ahead and start. So, we're in working with, a company that's over 50 years old, that has tradition, amazing culture. By adding a new layer, a group that thinks about digital, that also comes with a new culture.
Right.
And a new skill set that the company's never had. And so one of the things that I think was challenging was explaining, here we are in Silicon Valley, we need to attract amazing talent. How are we going to do that when there's so much competition?
Right.
So that was a big hurdle in creating the right environment and creating a place where people want to come to ultimately innovate in a brand new area of retail.
And so did you have to reformulate your processes and your thinking around hiring that talent and getting those right folks in?
Yeah, completely. We had a very successful human resource group and process, but we definitely had to change that and modify it for the type of talent we wanted to attract.
Cool.
Yeah, for us, I think it was breaking into a very old school industry, the footwear industry. Being guys that had zero experience in footwear and retail and e-commerce and fashion.
That's all?
Sort of tell.
No barriers
everything.
there.
And so we really approached it like a lot of technology companies do, and we really took a very much of a lean startup approach where we knew the assumption was that a lot of things were going to go wrong, but as long as they went wrong really quickly and we learned from those mistakes, we'd have a shot at innovating. And that really paved the way for us.
Yeah, I think for us, working with Zappos on that first shop for us as a pilot was really about timing. The online guys really think about going fast and moving quickly, but when you're building physical stores, it takes a little bit of time. Now, we did it quick, but things would come up that, permitting and city codes and things like that. And so I think going from taking a building on having to go 16 days and making it a store for an online guy was like, wow, but we didn't have no clue that all of this would have to take place. So
Yeah. All of a sudden the ADA is part of a digital person's world, right?
you can't imagine the legal conversations that were going on about the winter wonderland of all things.
Yeah, absolutely,
So,
right? Like
exactly.
who's going to get hurt and what's the risk policy?
Yeah.
All right, so we've got a couple questions coming through. I guess the first one is, what tech partners is Westfield using today?
Yeah, it's a great question. So my background is I'm part of the early creators of CNET. I built their product review in the mid-90s and shopping engine. And back then, you had to build everything yourself.
Right.
Not anymore. There's a company that does everything for a digital platform. And so we've got amazing partners, from Google, we're using a product called BigQuery that enables us to quickly store data and replace the ETL engineering function, to Adobe. No reason for us to build a content management system, but if we could actually kind of customize one for our needs, that was another great partner.
Absolutely.
The list goes on and on. So we're definitely not build everything. We're definitely into partnering on many fronts.
And does the same go for you, right? Is it how much of it is getting your vision of the future? How much of it is build versus buy? And how strong is integration in what you guys do?
Yeah, for us, on the technology front, I'm a big believer in the idea, and this is something Tony Shea at Zappos says, never outsource your core competencies.
Right.
So really we try to think about what those core competencies are and focus on those. And there's a million partners we could have and a million things we could do, but we try to do a couple things really well versus many things average. And so from a partner perspective, I would say some of our key partners are also, a Google and RJ Metrics, more on the sort of analytics side, to help us sort of do those things that we don't necessarily want to do ourselves or be great at ourselves. They get us by from a data perspective, and then we're able to go do those things that we're great at, which is telling stories, building content, and finding artists.
That's great.
Yeah, for us it's kind of interesting because with ShopWithMe, our partners we have these large retail brick and mortar chains that are interested, and we have these large online players, and two traditional players that don't necessarily, they see each other as very much in competition with each other over the last 10 years.
Right.
And so for us in our partnership strategy, we're definitely trying to play the neutral ground of saying that it's really about changing the consumer experience. Again, it's not about just changing you as a retailer or you as a retailer, but what is that cohesive retail experience consumers should have?
I mean, it's really, with Westfield, we're an aggregation of retailers. We're not the retailer. And so part of what Westfield Labs does is partner with companies like you guys to bring really a one-to-many effect, right? You've got these retailers in a local area that are looking for solutions. So how can we kind of partner with these technology companies and really bring them with knowledge and training?
So you've got this great strategy, which I have to imagine your retail partners are thankful for because you're giving them additional value. How often is the technology at your retail partners the barrier for getting that success done?
Well, I mean, the issue with technology being a barrier is really education.
Okay.
Right? I worry less actually about the technology and probably more about the use case of how we're going to use it.
Okay.
And the training of actually putting it in place. There's more technology than we know what to do with out there. It's actually putting it in production and developing a use case to create great value for the consumer, our retail partner, and Westfield.
Okay.
And I would reiterate that. I mean, there's a million things you can do, and these two guys especially, I'm sure there's a million of other things they could do in terms of sort of the experiences they create, but it's really about focusing on those one or two things and understanding what does move the needle and sort of, ignoring everything else.
Yeah, and it's about using technology to be a practical use case to solve a true problem.
Right.
The consumer's problem right now is not what wallet to use. And so I'm really thinking about what your strategy is for using technology to solve the true pain points that the consumer has, and not just using technology to fit your bottom line or what you think it should be.
I mean, there's there must be a new beacon company that comes out every day. So there's a lot of buzz around beacons and retail. And there's amazing companies and great technology, but to me that's not the issue. It's what is the consumer experience? What is the right way to program this technology to create value for the consumer? Because if you don't know that, who cares really about the technology?
And not what the retailer wants or the technology company wants. What does the consumer want?
So that seems to be a theme of everything we've talked today about the consumer experience, right? And you know, the adage of when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? And if you're in traditional retail or even digital retail, you're thinking of metrics like same-store sales and profitability and average check and all these other things. How do you transition mindset of either your business partners or whoever you're working with to think about consumer experience, right? It's probably the most vague term that we have for the bucket of, I care so much about my consumers that I want to do the right things for you, but that's not a nail. So how do you guys get past that dynamic?
So one of our challenges has been, we're a physical marketplace, and the way to evaluate how well your physical marketplace is thriving is to see people come in every morning. And if you're managing one of these malls, you react to that. And whether it's an emergency or an opportunity or an event, you react to that physically. And so what we've done is really used analytics to literally build dashboards in real time in the office. So they see, these are how many people that are consuming content about our shopping center right now today. Yeah. And you can actually change their behavior. And that's really the way that visually we've had to kind of help train and influence a new way of thinking.
I have to imagine that working with Tony as a partner is a blessing because he thinks outside of the box, right? Literally?
Oh, literally outside the box. Right now, he's living in downtown Vegas in an Airstream park, and so there's a nice little campground out there for the wintertime. It's a cool experience, and it's definitely something he's not scared to take challenges and make bets and be risky in what he's trying to do. And I think the key thing is not just living in your own product. When Tony and I first started talking about Shop With Me, I showed it to him. The idea came from actually me going shoe shopping in a physical store at a mall, and he looked at me, he's like, why'd you do that? Zappos. And so, but the fact of is, even as a tech CEO, I don't buy everything online. I still go really much into the physical stores. And I think for retailers, it's about not just thinking about their own store, but them as a consumer and what that experience is when they're shopping at other brands and other retailers and what they wish that experience would be. And so it's really stepping outside your own box into this broader spectrum.
And I don't know if you remember what it was like to shop for electronics before Apple. It was extremely different,
right?
And their idea that you could check out with any individual person, that people sort of come to you, that there wasn't not necessarily this idea of a checkout lane or checkout aisle.
Right.
I mean, those ideas didn't exist, and now everyone's doing that. And so finding out what the appropriate consumer experience is the path of least resistance. The path of most knowledge sharing, and then doing what's right for you. And I think that is a really great example.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, so as you go through these startup phases or these innovation phases, I have to imagine one of the pressure points, either by your business partners or your investors, has got to be scalability, right? So how do you scale an artisan business, or how do you go and take a digital experience and scale physical construction, whether it be pop-up or otherwise? Talk to me a little bit about, are you feeling that pressure? Is that kind of going away with the investment community of, I want to get it right small versus I need, historic kind of hockey stick growth? Where? It's probably, I'll start with you guys first.
Yeah, sure, I can jump in. I mean, we do have investors, some larger investors, and they are asking for metrics and performance, and if things aren't working, obviously you can't just continue doing them. I think we've been lucky that the proof has sort of been in the pudding. We sort of went out online and first said, we're gonna tell stories, we're gonna sort of merchandise online differently, and it worked. And we said we now want to translate that to our studio experience. And before studios, we even did that in wholesale. We said we will not sell to a store unless they allow us to tell artist stories alongside our products. And some stores said, you can't, you have to put it on a rack. And we said, we don't want to work with you.
Gotcha.
That worked. And so with studios, I think studios we've gotten it most right, where when you walk in, you get an experience that it is not a traditional experience, that it is different. And we started slow. You know, we started with a pop-up. We started with a pop-up in one location.
Right.
So a lot of testing. So you do need those metrics. You do need the math to back it up. And it's luckily worked.
You know, when Danielle and I started OrderWithMe, our focus was really helping independent retailers. And so for us, the scale wasn't about how much money could we make or how many things could we sell. It was really about, there was this huge network of independent retailers across the country, and no matter what industry they were in, they needed help. And so our core business at OrderWithMe, we help them manage their purchase orders, invoicing, and payments. And so instead of one bike shop ordering $1 million a year from his suppliers, we put 500 on a platform, so they now order $500 million a year. Right. And so for us, when we built OrderWithMe, it wasn't really about what widget or what industry we're in. It was that everyone is making purchase orders, invoicing, and payments. And when we started ShopWithMe, it was that we didn't want you to just have a great experience in a shoe store. But there's a lot of different verticals that you can't find exactly what you want in the physical store, and there's not enough space. Right. And so building in a way that was flexible to work with a lot of different product categories.
In our business, you know, there's no, on our footprint, there's no two shopping centers alike. Right. They all come in different shapes and sizes. They're all in different cities. In our cases, they actually cater to different countries and languages. And so as you look at our platform and how we're kind of digitizing information of what's happening in there, it was quite challenging to, how do you think about that? So they still maintain actually their uniqueness, because you want them to be different in our
Absolutely,
business.
And you want to be able to deliver the value, but not have it be so cookie cutter. It takes away the personality of the physical location.
Right.
All right, so I think we probably have time for one more question, and I'd be remiss if I weren't a moderator at one of these things that didn't ask one of those crazy, like, end of the session questions. I won't make you hold it to one word, because that's, no one ever does anyways, right? So if you had to give us a concept that you think is kind of the next generation, maybe 5 years out, 7 years out, what do you think that retail is going to, what are some of the curves, right, to your point of, as long, it doesn't matter where we're coming from, we're all heading in the same direction. Where do you think some of those inflection points would be?
I mean, I think, you know, something that is becoming very real and will probably hit us faster than ever is this idea of same-day delivery. I mean, companies are still trying to figure out the economics of that. Sure. But given the investment that retailers are making in their IT infrastructure, in managing their inventory, and the fact that these physical brick and mortars are in great proximity of users or of consumers, I just think just as natural as seeing FedEx and UPS as a pull-down option on cart, you're going to very quickly see same day by hour as an option before we know it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say the same thing to an extent. I think the integration of inventory, where people are going to build studio stores with more selling space and less space, hopefully, for inventory, where you sort of integrate the brick and mortar and the online experience as well as the logistical experience. And then I'm a big believer in content and the idea of creating an experience of discovery. You know, Jonathan talked a lot about that experience matters more than almost what's there. Right, absolutely. Creating content around what it is you're selling is what some of the most innovative things I'm seeing in retail today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you're going to be able to go to shopping centers and physical locations, and you're going to see traditional big box guys next to the online guys, next to the independent retailers, all blended together in one place. And and in a few years, the experience between those is going to be very similar, and because they're all heading again in the same direction.
And I have to tell you, I just see a synergy right here, right? Like the three companies right here seem like there's a lot there.
Yeah, it's funny that the brick and mortar guy and the tech guy are wearing similar shirts, jeans and dark blue.
That's
so
right.
We're closer than we think.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're out of time for today. I want to thank the audience for being so patient. I want to thank the panelists and the speakers for everything. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Thanks.